everyone, this is Denise with Creates with Love, and today I want to go over just a tutorial on how to use your Cricut design space. So pretty much like everything you need to just get started in design space and how to make your own projects and kind of how to navigate around design space as a whole. So let me just go ahead and dive right in, and I'll start at the very top. Up here we have the version of Cricut Design Space. So if you ever need to know what version you are currently on, because Cricut is always updating our application, this is where you'll find the version. I happen to be on 5.4.10, and today is February 3rd, 2020. Now you have your home screen. This is considered your home screen. You have a little toggle button here. This is going to take you to a place where you can upload a picture if you like. You also want to go here if you want to set up a new machine. Pretty much here, a lot of the stuff here, it's not anything you're going to be accessing often, but if it's something you're looking for, definitely take a peek at what's here. What's nice about here is if you click on the help desk, it will take you right to Cricut's help desk. It'll open it in a separate browser. So keep that in mind. You can change your country, and these are right here, your settings. It's pretty much just your default settings. So if you wanted your canvas to look a little bit different, you can switch to partial grid. If you wanted no grid at all, just white background, you could select that. So I like mine on full grid. And then your measurements, depending on what measure you use in your area. And then also, now that we have the desktop application version, my default option is set to cloud only, because I know that if I'm going to be working somewhere, say I'm going to be somewhere where I know there's going to be no internet or maybe spotty internet connection. Before I go there, I can choose to upload some images so that while I'm there, I will have those images for me to work on. And same thing, even if you're at home, maybe you could just put some images aside that on something that you want to work on. And if there's a time where your internet is down, you could actually go and work on that project, even though your internet is down, providing that you have those images saved to your computer. So there's the difference for that. So let me go ahead and close out of here. Okay. And then over here you have my projects. This is going to take you to your projects, but also other projects. So depending on how you sort this area here. So it'll take you first to your projects, and then if you want to get to some more choices, you click the drop down menu. You can also access some of these items also from the Make It Now projects, which is on your home screen. From here, like say you wanted to make something that is free along with your Cricut Access subscription, then you could click here. And then let's say you want to sort order it even more and say you only want to see things that are related to making a card. So you could put card and enter, and then it's going to show you all the different Make It Now projects that are related to Cricut Access subscription and a card. So if you were subscribed to the Access, then any of these projects would be free, providing you supply your own supplies, of course. Okay, so there's that. Let me get back to the home menu. Okay, this right here, it's going to drop down. It's going to have Cricut Maker, and Cricut Explore Family. So this is for people that have two machines, but it's also in case you're somebody who switches back and forth. So I do that a lot. One day I might be on my Maker, the next day I might be on the Cricut Explore, depending on what I'm working on. If that's the case, just keep in mind and make sure that whatever machine you're using, make sure you have the correct one selected. The reason why, let's say you were working on the Cricut Explore, and then all of a sudden you decided to switch to the Maker, but you forgot to switch it here, and now you want to engrave. Well, we all know that the Cricut Explorer cannot engrave, but the Cricut Maker can. So if you don't have this set to Cricut Maker, when you go to engrave, the option is not going to show up. So make sure that you have this matching whatever your machine that you are using. Okay, and then right here is new project. You will find also new project right here Either one takes you to the same place. It just takes you to the blank the blank Cricut canvas, so you can begin your project. I'm getting all tongue twisted here. Okay, this right here is just things that Cricut wants you to see. It could be a trending item, it could be a sale they're having, it could be a fancy campaign that they have going. So it's always a good idea to peek and see what they have going on here. This here is where I showed you up earlier. This is all my projects. I can either scroll to the right, or I can select and view them all. And same thing with the projects below. These are all Make It Now projects. So depending, they have different categories of projects that you can make now. And here we have all of the Cricut Make It Now projects. And you can see, you can scroll down. There's all kinds of ready to make projects. They have different sort orders. This one's just on infusible inks. This one's on their new materials. So check back here often. These categories sometimes will switch. So it's just a good idea to come here and take a peek at what they got going on. And then down at the very bottom is you'll find the community. So this is everything that, these are projects that you and I have made, and we have made the choice to share it so everybody else can see what we made. And this is another great place to come for inspiration. So keep in mind that these projects, they're not going to just pick your project and share it. It's only shared if you decide from your end that you want to share it, and you go through some very specific, easy directions on how to upload pictures and the directions for the people to see your project. And then in addition, this, if you like the project, if you click a star on it, there's a sort order under projects where you can search for favorites. So anything that you liked here, and say, I like this one, say I made it a favorite. When I go to look for it, see it says added to my favorites in the drop down category, I will be able to find that. So that is a great feature there. Okay, so let me show you something. Let me go back here. Okay, so we've got all of our projects. I want to show you like inside of one of the projects. Let's say I wanted to make this cute little Valentine card here. Now, if I click on it, it's going to give me an option. Well, first of all, it gives you several pictures to take a look at. So it shows you what it's going to look like on your design space. And then it shows you what the done design project looks like at the end, the final result. And it gives you, it's an easy project. It's going to take approximately less than 30 minutes. You can print these instructions here. It gives you just everything you need to become equipped to make this card. At the very bottom, it's going to show you all the images and fonts that are used in this project. And as you can see, it has a little A. What that means is that means you're subscribed to the Cricut Access. And so this card would not cost you anything if you are an Access subscriber. It would be free. So you have two options. You can either make it, and so in other words, you're up here, you see the project, and you're like, I want to make it just like this, meaning you don't want to change anything. You don't want to change the size of the card. You don't want to change the colors. You just want it to end up just like this. Then you would click Make It. What that does is it puts you all of your Cricut mats you'll see over here. So in other words, we're not going to change the design at all. We're just going to make it. So it puts it onto your virtual mats here, and then you can see it's going to let you know that you're going to score, draw, and cut. The only thing you might need to change for this particular project was if the paper that you had on hand was a different size than 12 by 12, then you would select this drop down and say maybe it's letter size of paper, then you would select that, and it would rearrange it so that it would fit your paper. So that's the only thing. It just defaults to 12 by 12. So just keep that in mind, that you could change that. And say you wanted to make 5 of the same card, you could up your project copies to 5 if you wanted. Okay, so I'm going to click cancel and I go back. Now, let's say that you wanted to make the size of this card a little bit bigger. Let's just go ahead. That means we would customize it. So we want the same thing, but we want to make it a little bit different. So we're going to click on Customize. What that does is it puts the image back onto Design Space for you so that you can go in and customize it. So here's the card, and let's just say you wanted to make it this size instead, which means if we made the card that size, we might need to make the envelope bigger. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger too. So maybe that's all you wanted to do. If you wanted to change the color of your hearts, you could click this heart here and you could decide to change the color if you wanted to. At the point when you were done customizing, then if you want to make it, then you would just click make it here, and it's going to put it on that same map that you saw just a little bit ago. So there's a difference between customizing and making it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to home. And let me go back here and show you something else. Okay, so you could print these instructions if you wanted to. Like I said, it gives you all the materials, everything you're going to need to make this project. But say you're brand new and you've never done a Make It Now project, and you just want to make sure that you have the instructions for you to see. You have a choice to either print it, or with this new design space, you could actually make your Cricut design space smaller by getting that double arrow and squishing your app in smaller, and then move this over, right? What we're doing is we're making room to open up another window on your monitor. So go to File and click New Window. This is going to open up a whole new design space, right? It looks just like the other one did. We're going to go to where that same project was. It was right here. And now you can make it in this window, but have the instructions to refer to on how to put it together, or if you need a little bit extra help here, they'll take you there. So I wanted to show you that. It's awesome that we can actually have one to reference instructions, one to be making the project. You could literally, if you had two machines, you could have one project with one machine going and another project with another machine going here as well. So fantastic feature that they've given us there. So I'm going to quit that one and put this one back to how I had it and close this. Okay, so we're on home. All right, so that pretty much covered that area there. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to make a new project. So that will take us to the design space canvas. Right now we're on our home page because you can see home is right here. If we want to make a new project, we can either go here or here. They both take us to the exact same place. It's giving me this message because I had just showed you that card was on my canvas. It's a reminder to either have me save my project or replace it or cancel. So I'm just going to hit replace because I don't need it. So it's replacing that card canvas with a whole brand new canvas. So if I was just to open up Design Space and I was on home and I wanted to come to my canvas or new project, this is exactly what you would see. So if I go up at the top, this will take you back to that place where the home option was. So there's everything we had seen before, or you can click here and it'll take you to the canvas where we are. If you go to here, we have my projects. So these are going to be the projects that I showed you just a little bit ago. And we have a save option. Say we're working on our project right now. It's just untitled, but if we wanted to call or name it something, we would do that here. It's grayed out because I don't have anything saved yet. Here is where you have the maker option or the Cricut Explore family. So this is where you want to make a change on depending on which machine you're working on. So in other words, say you were working on the Cricut Explore and you forgot to change it to maker. When you went to go and engrave something, the engrave option is not going to show because you're still sorted to the Cricut Explore, right? If I changed it to Explore, my machine, or it's not going to be able to tell my machine to engrave because Explore does not engrave. So whatever machine you're working on, make sure you have the correct one selected. You can just switch them back and forth like that. Make it is if you were ready, your project's all here, ready to be cut, you would click on Make It. We have the Layers panel here. This is a place you will be looking at often as we build images and shapes. And then Color Sync is another option I'll get into in a little bit. And then within these groups, we have these choices here, more choices down here, and I'll get to this in a little bit. But first, I want to cover the left side. So we have the new. This is for when, say, you already have a project on here and you decide you want to start working on a new project. That would be there. We don't need that now, so there's really nothing to cover because we're on a new canvas here. It would just take you to a new canvas just like this. Then we have templates. Templates are awesome for when you want, maybe you want to put some design on a shirt or any one of these items that you see here. Basically, this is to give you a reference point. So as an example, let me just choose this shirt here. It's a classic t-shirt. And it tells you right here, templates are for reference only and will not be saved with your project. So it's just to give you an idea of what your image size would look like on a shirt. It's sorted right now, defaults to a men's short sleeve. Let's say you're working on a ladies short sleeve shirt and maybe you're working on a size medium. It's going to size it to your typical medium size shirt. Now it doesn't look like it because they have it zoomed back for you so the shirt actually front and back fits on your design space. If I was to keep clicking this higher, it's going to make it the approximate size of a medium women's size shirt. Okay, so we take it back down to 25. And then as an example, let me just put 3 hearts on here, just to kind of give you a visual of what you might use this for. And I'm going to wrap a square around it like this so I can align it better for you. I'm going to align bottom, and then I'm going to distribute horizontally. So now they're perfectly shaped or spaced, and I'm going to hit group because I want to keep them together. Okay, so now I've got a group of hearts, and I can go, would I like my hearts to be this size? Would I like them smaller? Would I like them really small and maybe put them on my sleeve? So see what I mean? It just gives you an idea, a visual of how it's going to look on your shirt. And then once you have exactly how you want it to be, then you can click on Make It. And it shows you the back of the design because sometimes we want designs on our back. All right, so let me close out of here. That's what templates are. Okay, so we did templates, and then if we go to projects, it's going to take you kind of like where we were before. The one thing that I do want to show you is they have so many different projects. The best thing to do would be first to come to your categories and see what options they have to kind of break your search down. So let's say you want to work on something for Christmas, and you know that all you want to do is, like before, just work on a card. So you can do that, and it's going to bring you up all kinds of different Christmas cards that you can make. So it really helps shorten your search down and helps you be quicker at searching. And they've done this because, and they really did recently improve their search feature because they have so many images and projects now that it's amazing. So definitely use your categories and your searches so that you're not spending all day looking for something unless you want to. All right, so images, kind of the same thing. Now, the one thing I do want to show you is images is what I selected here, but from here, you also have categories and you have cartridges. Okay, so let's start on images, which is where we were. And again, you have ways to filter. You have right now, if you look at the size of the square, if I was to click here, I can search many more because the pictures are smaller, right? So I can search more at a time. So it's just a preference on what you like. On the filter, let's just say I want to do something, let's say Christmas again. Okay, so there's a ton. I mean, this will just go on and on and on and on and on. Sometimes you really want to try being specific on what you want unless you're looking for a very broad category. But then we have the option to filter. Maybe I want to look for Christmases and something to do with Christmas that are just my images. Maybe they're things that I've uploaded. Maybe I only want free items or things that are under Cricut Access, things that I've purchased, things that I've saved for offline. So when Cricut Design or when your internet is down or you're in a place that has no internet or spotty internet, you can go and look at what you have saved for offline so you can work on your project. Types, layers, you see all the filters here. It's awesome. Just different ways to search for things. So let me clear this. To give you an example, let's just do with something that would be kind of, let's just do flower. This is going to give you all the different types of flowers that there are. So what I meant by specific, right? A flower is a category. Maybe you already know what kind of flower you want. So you could do sunflower and scroll through and find the one that you like. And actually, I need one so I can show you something as we go further. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and insert it into my canvas. So what I did was I selected it. Once it's green, it goes here. The I is for the name of what the sunflower is. If you wanted to show somebody or tell somebody what sunflower it was, this is what it is. And it's from the collection of Close to My Heart Flower Market. Okay. So that's just for reference. It's for informational purposes. Once you select it here, it's also down here. If I wanted to, I could select all of these and they all line up, and then I could click insert. So in other words, I don't have to do just one at a time. If you decide that you don't want those, then you just click on them again and it puts them back here instead of down here. So I only want this one for now, so I'm just going to put insert image. Okay, and then I forgot these templates are here. Let me see. Let me go back here. I'm going to replace again. And I'm going to go to images, get my sunflower back. It's just a little bit up here. There it is. Actually, it was this one. Okay, so I'm going to save this over here for a little bit later. Okay, so we did templates, we did projects, we did images. I did want to go back one more thing to images here. So categories, this is everything here is going to be what's free for this week. Oops, I have it on sunflower, so it's going to be, there we go. Everything in here is free this week. So after this week, if you don't have access, there's a very good chance that it would not be free. So keep that in mind, and it does change every week. So lots of awesome different things. And it's a lot. Each time they do it, it's a bunch of images. So now we also have, if I go back to categories, we also have most popular. So this would be like what's trending right now, right? Okay, so we go back to categories, and then we have recently added. This is a fun one because this is how you find out. Unless Cricut sends out an email, this is a good place to check for things. They are constantly giving us more and more images. So another good place to just check once in a while. It can just like literally go on and on. And then we have cartridges. So cartridges now are all digital, and there is a bunch of cartridges. And so again, the best way to find, you can go through and they'll just keep going and going and going and going. But as before, let's just say we want something to do with Christmas. It's going to give you all the cartridges that have something to do with Christmas, and then you can go through. Now, this is one, let me see. I want to switch to something that I don't have. I don't have the frozen yet. I need to get one of those. Okay, so let's say that we want this here. You can see if you don't have it, you can buy it for $25.99. So, and this one happens to have 17 images. This one is a little bit more, but it also has 50 images. So it just, it does vary. Just take a peek here and see what you're looking for. Okay, so again, we have those filters. So that was the same same filters as we had before for your searches. Okay, so let's go on to, I'm going to go back to my canvas. Okay, so now I want to go to text. Okay, so now you notice when I select text, it gives the options so that we can edit. And one thing I wanted to show you here, I have my design space pretty big. If when it opens up to default, it's a little bit smaller. So when you first open it up, it might be, maybe this size. And as you can see, it kind of took away some of the stuff that's up here. So if yours happens to open up small and you're wondering where the rest of this is, you can select more and get to it here, but it's also just as easy just to make it white again, and then everything is on this line. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. I have seen some questions about that. Excuse me. Whenever you click on text here, it opens up a box to put your text in. It's going to default to Cricut Sans as the font type. So you could just type in, oops, you are my sunshine. Okay, so here we have, you are my sunshine. Move it over here and make it a little bit smaller so you can see it better. And I've typed everything in one line. I could, try to get my box back. Where'd it go? There we go. I could also do you are my sunshine or my sunshine. So keep that in mind when you're typing your text. I can make it big, small. I can change it. I can close out of it. Say I made a mistake and I just want to start over. Just get my text here. All right. There we go. Okay, so say I didn't want this font. We have all of these fonts to go through. And there is a bunch. It just keeps going and going and going and going. And it'll tell you here if it's an access font or if it's maybe these are probably system fonts that are on my system, my computer system. There's ones that would be here that even though I have Cricut Access, it might be a font that would cost a little extra money. When you see this download option, what that means is if you download the font, it'll be ready for you to work offline. So when your internet's down, you would have this font downloaded to your computer so that you could use it when your internet is not working or you're someplace that does not have internet. What I like to do is use the search feature up here because they have so many different fonts. You can search either only your system fonts or only your Cricut fonts. From here, you also have the filter over here. This one's really handy. Say I want only a writing font, right? I don't want a single layer. I don't want anything I've saved offline. I don't want a multi-layer. I just want one that looks like it's a writing style. So I can select that. Now it's only going to show me Cricut fonts that were in a writing style. If I select one, let me go through here. Here's a good example. This is one that comes separated. I wanted you to see that. It automatically took us to a draw line type, which is handy because if we were going to draw it out, right, it's a handwriting font. Now see how these letters are all separate? They're not actually touching each other. So you would want, when you see a script writing like this, you want to go up to your letter space and hit the down arrow so that the letter spaces get closer together. You want to try that first. Now, some fonts or writing styles, they'll get really good at being real close, and sometimes it's okay to make it really huge just so that you can see it really, really well. You can see what happens. Look at the H and the I. See, those are overlapping now, so they're too close together, right? So it wouldn't look as good. So you get it as good as you can for most letters, and then take a look at it and then decide that maybe you're going to have to ungroup it, right? Like, see how this H is just a little bit from here, but the rest of the letters look pretty good. Looks like I could actually do it one more closer. Oops, I went the wrong way. Right about there. And then see, they're still separated right here. So what I could do is go to Advance and choose Ungroup to Letters. Now watch what happens over here. If I have this selected, it's on one line. This is my Layers panel. This text right here, I want you to see what happens when I ungroup two letters. Now we have every single letter is a single layer. So if I select the E, it's only selecting the E, not everything. But what that enables me to do is be able to move this E just slightly to the left so that it lines up how I want it. Same thing with the H. I can select just the H and move it over just a little bit, move the I a little bit, right? You want to make it look just like your handwriting or someone else's handwriting. Once you have everything put back together, I'm not going to worry about all the letters just for informational purposes for right now. But if you wanted to, once you were done, you could group all of this back together. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But what's nice about being ungrouped as well was, let's say that you wanted, let's say you wanted to change the font style for just the word sun. Maybe you want all the font to be the same, except for you want sun to be a different font. You could literally click this S, go up here, change the font. I'll pick a silly one. There, see what that's a real silly font. But you could do that if you wanted. I definitely wouldn't pick this one, but just for informational purposes, you can change one letter if you wanted, or like I said, the whole word. You would just do each letter at a time and then group it back together. Or you could group just these three letters, change the font to this font, and keep these the same. So it's nice to know that you have the options to resize single letters or multiple letters or none at all. Okay, and I showed you, or I said I was going to show you how to group these back together. So you just take your mouse, click and drag. Now everything's together, and you click group, and now it's back to one group so that everything moves and stays the same. Okay. So other things you can do with your text, since I'm here, is you can rotate. Okay, so let's go to text. Let's just do something. We'll do You Are My Sunshine again. This time, I want to make it a easier font to see for sure. Let's do Birthday Bash. Okay, so I showed you before how to change the writing style. We chose writing in the filter, but even from here, say you saw this font, but you wanted to change it to maybe bold. Look what a difference that is. So keep an eye on the styles for your fonts. Maybe I want it italic. Maybe I want it bold and italic. So there's all kinds of different styles for some fonts. Some fonts won't have as many styles, but some will. So it just depends on the font. You can make the font smaller. You can curve it by using this here. You can curve it either way. Okay, so here, this is a great example. I could do center. I could do everything to the left. You are my sunshine. I could do everything to the right. You are my sunshine this way. Or I could choose to go back to center. So this is really good for working on a card or any other type of project where you're using font and you want to change the alignment. Now we also have line space. So the difference of space between each line is going to be here. If I want things closer together, I can move them in. I can also type in a number manually if I wanted to. Here I have ungrouped to letters, right? That's what we had before. But now that we have more than one line, we also have the option to ungroup to lines. So as an example, what could I do with something like that? If I select ungroup to lines, each line is now its own separate layer. Maybe I want to make this line a red color, and this line, maybe I want to make it orange. Maybe this one yellow, and this one, I'm running out of choices or options. We'll make it this color. There we go. So that's a great example of ungroup to lines. Maybe you want this one to be curved like that. And then once you're done, you can take it and group it back together so that you can move it around, right? Or you might want to attach it. We haven't gone over attach yet. I will in a little bit. So there is a good example for your text. So let's move on to shapes. Let me get this. I'll put this. I don't think we're going to need this. Okay. Shapes. We have all different shapes. These are always free. You can use them as many times as you like. You saw me use the hearts early. Scoreline is great for making, that's how we make like box designs, how to make the folds. Anytime you have a fold, you're going to want a score line. Same thing for the fold in a card is what you use a score line for. So whenever you're making a card, you are going to want a score line or 3D type objects, things like that. So like I showed you earlier, you just click on it. If you can just keep clicking on it here to make more, or you can go up here and hit duplicate and it'll keep making more. If you want this to go away, just click on your Cricut design space. If you want to change the color of your heart, you can now change any of these colors here. If you want more colors to choose from, click on advanced and then use this to get you close to your color wheel that you want. Say you wanted some sort of blue, and then you can click and decide what color blue you want. Watch it here for what color it's changing to. And when you find the one that you want, you just let go of your mouse. You can change them all to be that color. If you want to change all of these shapes at once, I would group them together and then I would change the color. Or if they weren't grouped together, you could do them one at a time. I could change it back to black. To make your sizes bigger or smaller, you can do them like this. This, if you don't unlock it, see how there's a lock here and there's a lock here. If you keep one or both of these locked, the proportionate will remain the same for the size that you make it. Okay? If you unlock it, like I said, you can unlock it here or here, it does the same thing. You only need to do it one place or the other. Now you can change the proportion of your heart in addition to the size. Right? I don't know why you would want that size, but you can see how that can be pretty fun with any image that you're working on. Right? Say I like that and I want to make another one. I can duplicate. I have two that size. Once I'm done working with this, if I know for sure this is what I want, make sure you lock your image back up. Okay. You can rotate by using this little wheel, or you can rotate by using this little arrow. This here we really won't be using that much. This is telling you where the position of this heart is on the mat itself. So that's what that's for. It's something, ever since they gave us the Align tool, this is just something I really haven't been using because the Align does everything that I need. Let me show you. Well, actually, I'm going to show you that in a little bit. So, okay, this is shapes. This is pretty good for shapes. Let me get rid of this. Anytime that you want to get rid of something, you can just click this X here, or you can click delete, or you can right click on the image and click cut, or you can go up to edit and click cut. So you can see we have a lot of options to get rid of something. If you want to get rid of 4 things really quick, to me, the easiest way is to grab them all and then hit that X, and then now they're gone. Okay, so upload. This is when you want to upload something into your projects. So let me upload an image here. You can see you can do JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, BMP, SVG, or DXF files. You can also upload patterns. We won't get into patterns too much today, except for that I'll show you where they are in Design Space. But if you had a pattern to upload, you would want to use this option. For this option, you want to upload image, and you can either browse for it, or I like to just put it on my desktop first and drag it. Once the background turns green, there it is. My image is already here. I want a transparent background. That's what all these squares are. Means I don't want to see the background. I just want it to be clear. There's nothing that I really need to do here beyond, give it an image name, which this is when I made this file, I saved it as Summer Vibes with 2 chairs. Maybe here I wanted to tag it with something that would remind me, I can just do summer. That way, if I was to search for something summer, this whole file would come up. This really becomes important. These things here is the more things you upload and save, this is where these really come in handy. So I just think it's great practice to make sure that you save and start naming things really good from the beginning. And that way you'll be in a habit. Okay, and then you click save. And here is your item. So you click on it, because now you uploaded your item that you want to use in Design Space. Now it says it's under your recently uploaded image. You click on the image, and then you click on Insert Image, and it's going to put it right here on your map. Now you have just uploaded something of your own into Design Space, so that now you can work on this project. So how cool is that? Okay, so let me close this. We don't need that. So I've covered everything here except for this right here is the feedback. So this is anytime that you want to send, maybe you were working on a file and you ran into a problem, or you're really excited or happy about it. You can select a category and choose whatever you were working on, let them know, and click send. If you have a screenshot, I'm sure that would be very helpful for them to see this, the screenshot. So this is for the Cricut Design Space team. Okay, here on the mat itself, you can make your mat bigger or smaller. Let me just move it here so you can kind of see what it does. So the bigger I make my mat, 200%, that sure made that sunflower a lot bigger. So sometimes when you're working on something, you want to see it really quickly bigger. That's a good way to do it. At the same time, you can also make it smaller. Very helpful. Over in this corner, remember how earlier I said you could change your background grid? Right here, if you click in this little empty square between the 0 and the 0, you can change your grid here. So there's plain and there's back to regular. So that's the full grid, partial grid, no grid. Okay, so we've covered everything here, this here, the mat. We've covered some of this. Okay, so let me just duplicate this several times. Okay, now I have 3 sunflowers. So we're going to start going over the top line here. Okay, so you can see that I just did quite a few different things here. Now, if I wanted to kind of go back to where I was when I had 1 sunflower, I would just go to undo. And it's going to undo step by step each thing I did, which is really helpful. So now we're back to the 1 sunflower. If I wanted to redo, I would click the right arrow. Now it's going to redo everything I had done. So redo and undo. Okay. Now the line type is telling Design Space what you want to do with the sunflower because I have it selected. Anytime you see a square, it means it's selected. Right there, that's unselected. This is selected. So if this is selected, what am I telling Design Space that I want it to be? Do I want it to cut out the sunflower? Or do I want it to draw the sunflower? Because it can. Do I want it to score the sunflower? You could. It'd be kind of crazy, but do I want to engrave it, right? I have it set to maker. So engrave is an option. I could engrave the sunflower onto something. I could emboss it. Deboss is what I meant to say. I can use my wave tool and cut it out wavy. I can use my perforated tool. Now, if I was just on the Explore family, now look at the options that I have. I only have cut, draw, and score because that's what the Cricut Explorers could do with this file. Okay, so let's go back to cut. Okay, now what if I wanted to change some colors? Maybe I don't really like the colors that this sunflower is right now, and I wanted to change some of that color. I could come over here. This is simply showing every layer of the sunflower. Maybe I want this top piece with all the holes in it to be a different color. If I select it here, it selects it here as well. See the little square? If I select the stem here, it's going to select it here and change the color that it is. See, it's already green, green, and green. If I select this, it's that orange, orange, orange. So if I want to change the color, I could just change it to red if I wanted to. Now I have the red. So I showed you how to change the color. I showed you how they're all in layers. What if I didn't want to see this red part? See this little eye right here in the layers panel? This is the layers panel. If I click on that eye, it's like closing the eye and now you can't see that part. It will always stay hidden until you bring it back. I don't want the stem, I can just turn it off. Maybe I just want that part of the sunflower. It won't cut it unless you unhide it. Or you could take it and delete it, which I don't want to do because I want to show you something else with this file. I can wrap my mouse around it and I can ungroup it, or I can duplicate it, or I can delete it. So let's duplicate it. Now we have two. When I have two of something, I can arrange, okay, with colored the line type, the color. Let's select, actually, let me show you select all. So if you could have one thing or 100 things on your mat. If you hit select all, it's going to select everything. So instead of doing this to select all, if you wanted to select everything on your mat, you could just one click there. So just personal preference. Edit means you can either cut it, copy it, or paste it. Now, let me get rid of this one. Okay, so let me do the select all, okay? And say I want to copy this sunflower to my little clipboard, my little virtual clipboard, right? Anytime you copy and paste something, I always picture it like it's on this virtual clipboard in the sky and I'm just holding it there until I need it. So I can click edit and I can click copy, and then I can maybe add a couple shapes or something. I'm just working on something else, but I know that I'm going to use that heart, but I just not really sure when I'm going to use that heart. So I'm just kind of messing around. I'm like, oh, you know what? I do want another sunflower. I wasn't sure before, but I do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up to edit. And now I'm going to paste. And it pasted that sunflower. Now, until I copy something else while I'm on this project, I could do 3 more things. And then I go, oh, you know what? I think I want that sunflower again. I can either right click and choose paste, or I can go up to here again and do paste. So there's an option. Let me close some of these down. Actually, I can actually go up to edit and there's your cut feature. Or you can select it and delete it here, or select it and delete it here. I can rubber band around all of this and get rid of all of them at once. Now, you do see duplicate over here. When I select this here, right, I can copy and paste under edit, copy and paste, or I can just duplicate it. And I could do that a whole bunch of more times. It'll just keep on doing it. The difference is that it's not going to, duplicate's not going to remember. It's going to keep putting them here in all of its little group of layers, but it's not going to remember that. That's where the copy and paste comes in handy, is that it will remember the sunflower until you're done with this project. So in case you need it one more time, that's what it's there for. So I hope that kind of helps clear up some of that. So I don't want to get rid of all of them. Let me just move on here, rubber band all these, and get rid of them. Okay, so we're back to our one sunflower. I wanted to show you, okay, did we get across here? Oh, I got to do this. There's so much fun things to show you. Okay, duplicate. 2 sunflowers, one's here, one's here. I'm going to rubber band around them or drag my mouse around them. Now we're going to go over the align feature. You have different ways that you can align these sunflowers. You can put them both in the center. Now it looks like you only have one, but as you can see in your layers panel, there's 2 sunflowers, but they're just on top of each other. You can go back and maybe align, well, it's not going to align to the left if it's in the center. I have to distribute them. So let's, actually, let me undo. It literally grouped it together. There we go. Okay, so we're back to our 2 sunflowers. Okay, see how the one on the right is a little bit taller? Okay, so if I select them both, and now if I select align top, it's going to bring the one on the left, which is lower, even with the one on the right. Okay, so if I have this down here and I want to align bottom, it's going to bring the other one down to whichever one is closest to the very bottom. So it's going to bring the left one down. If I have, let me do, now I have 4 sunflowers. I go to align and maybe I want to distribute them horizontally. Now put them all horizontally, but if I want them all the same line, I would have to go up and choose, how do I want them to be lined up? Do I want them to be aligned to the top? It'll bring them all up to the top. So align vertically is really not going to do anything because I've already selected horizontal. I can, that's pretty much all I can do with these ones right now. If I do align left, it's going to put them all on top of each other again. There we go. So super nice feature, right? I mean, because we can quickly get things lined up and it really works for great. I'll show you a trick here. We've got 3 things. I want to align them all top, and I want to make it a group. So now I can move them all at the same time, but I also want to duplicate that group because I want real quickly, I want to make that many sunflowers. That's a lot quicker than doing 1 sunflower at a time. Now you've got 3 groups of sunflowers. Okay, now I want to show you flip, but I want to show you flip with a different image. We've done, or actually a range. We've done a line. So let me bring in some shapes. I want to do some hearts. Okay, and I want to do them all in one color. Let's just go with blue. Okay. And then I want to bring one, let's do a triangle. So I'm going to unlock it and make it more of a rectangle, I meant to say. Okay. So say I'm working on a card. Let me go ahead and change this to white. Okay, say I'm working on a card and I'm like, do, 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 do. And I've got, oops, I want a heart to be on the top, but it's going underneath it. So what I can do is go to this arrange, and whatever is selected, so I'll select the card, I would go up to arrange and I can put send to back or move backward. So the only difference there is depending on how many layers are underneath. I know that there's only 2 things here. There's either hearts or this card. So sending backward or to back is going to do the same thing. So if I put move backward, now this heart is in front. If I send it to back, it's going to put it behind all of these hearts because they were all in the area, the vicinity of this card. So that's where arrange really comes in handy. If I select the card again and I arrange send to front, it's going to be on top. So depending on your project, this is a really handy feature. Okay. Flip is actually, let me do a different flower. Flip is a good one. Or actually, you know what? Let's see if we have a parrot. Okay, which parrot do I want? Okay, let's just say we're working on. To be honest with you, this is the first time I've ever searched a parrot. Okay, this one will work just fine for what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there. Let me get these out of the way. Okay, so what flip is for flipping an image. So let me go ahead and duplicate them and say I want two birds, but I want them to be looking at each other. Well, I can't flip it around. If I turn them around, it's not going to do anything for having them, look at him. But if I go to flip and I flip horizontal, now I can have two birds that are looking at each other. So you can see how that would really come in handy for a project, right? On all different types of shapes and images. Some images you really would want to flip vertically. It wouldn't do much good for these birds, but you can see how that would really be a handy feature to have. So I wanted to show you that. And you can do that with um, any image. It doesn't have to be a bird. It can even be a shape or any type of an image. Okay, so now we went over sizing a little bit, but I did forget to mention you can do this to keep it in proportion, or you can unlock it to make him skinnier or wider, right? Or let's just say you were working on something very specific and you knew that you needed your parrot to be 3 inches. You would just hit 3 and hit enter. And now you've got a 3-inch wide parrot. If you want to change the proportion, then you would unlock it and then you could change this to different size. So how about a really tall skinny parrot would be 3 by 6, right? Or you can just use your arrows. There we go. Rotating, you can move with arrows and it's going to make your bird rotate. Or the quickest way really is just to take this, but sometimes you want it just a little bit degree at a time. That would be helpful there. All right. And then position, I think I mentioned that earlier, but in case I didn't cover it good enough, it's for where the position of where it's at on your mat. So right now you have your X and you have your Y of where it's positioned on your grid of your mat. Okay, so back over to the layers panel. Here I've got, we've got one bird. I've got 3 hearts. And say I want to work on these hearts, but I don't want to move them all individually. The quickest way to get them to move them at once is to select them all by dragging my mouse around it and then click group. Now I can move it wherever I want on my mat. I can make it smaller, bigger. I can unlock the proportion, make them different there. But let's just say that I wanted to, let me get rid of my bird. Let's just say I wanted to, actually, let me add text in here. Okay. Let's group the word smile. Oh, it's already grouped. So let me ungroup it. Okay. So now we have an ungrouped word. Okay. Now I'm going to group it. And I have a group of hearts and a group of letters. And let's say that that's all I want. If I was to click make it right now, let's see what would happen. It's hard to tell because I picked black letters. Let me go back and change that color because I really want you to be able to see this. Change it to red. Okay. So now we're going to click make it. Even though I had those letters grouped together, they're grouped in such a way on our mat to save material instead of cutting out exactly how we wanted to see it. Now that would be fine if you wanted your words cut out this way, but look how they are. They're even backwards. So it's really a good idea. And the hearts would cut out just like that, which would be fine. So let me go back and cancel. Now let me go ahead and grab Smile. Now I'm going to hit Attach. What Attach does is it tells Cricut Design Space that you want everything attached exactly how you see it. So now if I was to click Make It, Smile is going to be attached exactly how I wanted it. Okay, so there's a difference. You can group things, but they're not, that group is not going to carry over to these mats. Only if you attach something will it follow and stay attached as you go to each next mat. So I'm going to click Cancel. Okay, so there was the group. If I want to ungroup, I can ungroup. Now they're separate. And now they're grouped. Now I can move them all around. Duplicate, you saw me do. I can duplicate. Whatever is selected is going to duplicate. You saw delete. Now color sync is really, it's just kind of a quick way, like say, instead of going over here and changing the color of red to blue, I could just do that, right? I can sync over here. I have a red line and I have a blue line and it matches here. What if I wanted my Smile to be in blue instead? I could literally just bring all of this down here and now I have everything here will be blue. So it's just a way to sync your colors, but you could each do it, you could do it individually over here as well, but that's what it's there for. I know earlier I mentioned about with the eye, how you can turn on the eye on and off. What I wanted to refer here is with fonts, some fonts, not all, have what's considered a shadow layer. So if you had just brought up this font, this text, and you notice that without doing anything, you have an eye that's been turned off, you have the option to turn it on and it's going to show somewhat of a shadow effect. So as an example, probably the best way to show you is if I was to send this to the mat and make it right now, it'll show you that first here's those hearts that we already had on our mat, but when you get to this one, you can see that one of the words of Smile is a little bit larger and not as defined. Like look at the eye here compared to the eye here. So this is the back shadow and this is the front font. So I just wanted to point that out. So, some fonts we can't tell, or text we can't tell until we've already loaded it onto our mat and we go, oh, hey, that one has an extra shadow layer. So that kind of comes in handy. All right, so now we're going to move down to the big five. Don't let that spook you. I love these features. We're going to go over Slice, Weld, Attach, Flatten, and Contour. Now, with these 5 tools, it really expands your capabilities within Design Space. And let me show you how. With each one, I'm going to try to show you some quick examples of how you would use this tool, but there's going to be many more examples. And some you'll find out on your own or by watching videos or along the way with different projects that you make. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so the first one we're going to go over is Slice. Now you'll notice that every one of these tools, they're light in color right now. They're not bold. If we were able to use them, they would be bold right now. So basically what that's showing you is that right now, Slice is not available for anything that we have right here until we do something. So my first example is going to be, I'm just going to download a shape. I'm going to download a star. And I'm going to go ahead and just make this star gold. And then I'm going to duplicate it. And the thing that you need to know about Slice is you need to have 2 layers in order to slice. If you have 1 layer, it can't slice. If you have 3 layers, it can't slice. It literally has to be 2 layers. So I'm going to duplicate the star so I have 2 layers. And I'm going to go ahead and just change the color of one just so we have a reference point. what I'm going to do is make this one star smaller, and then I'm going to draw my mouse around it. What I'm going to do is align it to be in the center. Now I have two stars perfectly lined up on top of each other. And if you notice, all of a sudden when I had the two layers selected, now I have the option to slice. So I'm going to go ahead and slice. So it's kind of like a cookie cutter. If you've ever used a cookie cutter in baking, you know that you put the cookie cutter there, and then you have the one layer, the layer that you cut out, and the remaining layer. So this was my intent. I wanted this, is why I sliced. I wanted just the outside frame of a star. But now with these, I still could use these and I could resize them, or I could just delete them. I don't need them, so I'm just gonna double them up, wrap my mouse around them to select them, and then hit the X because I don't need it. So there's one example of slice. Let's see, another good example would be, okay, I got one. So let's do a shape. I'm going to do like a square. Let's pretend like this is going to be part of our card. So I'm just going to make a white card, but I want to write something on it with my Cricut pen. So what I'm going to do is select my text, and actually that one would have been fine. Okay, so I'm going to go with the brush stroke here. I'm going to just write hello. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this on here, make it smaller so it fits on our little card. And I'm going to select all of it, and I'm going to align it so it's also in the center, but you could have it wherever you wanted. And then once again, you'll notice that I can slice right out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit slice. Now I can take out that. I can still use this if I want, but now you can see we have what we sliced out. We have what we originally wrote, and then this could be the outside of the card. And if you just put, like, say, a blue, I'll just grab another square and I will turn it blue. So pretend like you have a piece of blue paper, and now you have a piece of white paper that you sliced out, and you can put that right on top there, and then you can see hello through the sliced white piece of paper. So there's another example of being able to slice right through a shape. That could be a heart. That could be whatever shape you want. It could be, just use your imagination. It's amazing. Okay, so there's another example of slice. I'll put these here. I don't need them. Wrap my mouse around it and get rid of them. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay, I'll try to do this quickly. Okay, let's say I want to make a banner really quick. And so I just grab a shape, which happens to be a square, and then I'm going to grab like a pentagon. I'm going to change the color just so it's easy for you to see. And I'm not going to worry about it being perfectly lined up because I don't want to take up your time. I just mainly want to show you the process, not so much that my lines are good and straight. Okay, so let's just call that good. Okay, so if I take my mouse, so what I'm trying to do is make a banner that looks like the black portion. This is a square. In order to get the banner effect, I used the top of the pentagon and just lined it up as good as I could at the bottom. But you could take your time doing it if you were making this for real. So I'm going to select both layers. Oh, I also wanted to show you too, when you're selecting layers, I do this a lot. But just so you know, you also can go up here and click on the area of the pentagon, hold down your shift key, and also select the square. That right there has just layered or attached the two pieces together, right? We've selected now two different layers are selected, and then I can hit slice. So I did want to show you that there's different ways to slice besides or just grabbing layers. Okay, so I'm going to move this pentagon out of the way and move this piece away and move this piece away. And there we have a banner. Now, Granted, I could have done a rectangular and made a taller banner, but I was just trying to show you the process. So in order to do this more effectively, I could even use a little oval or a rectangle for this, but I'm just going to do a little hole. I'm going to do it in blue just so it's easy to see, and then duplicate it so I have 2 holes. Okay, now this would be the tricky part. Remember, we can only do 2 layers at a time. So if I was to select, now you would think, okay, there's 2, the blue. If I select the blue and then hold my shift key, select the other blue. Now, could I slice that? Let's see. It don't slice. It doesn't slice through this layer. We never selected it because once we did, I'll show you again by selecting all 3. So let me go back up here. I'm going to select the first dot, hold my shift key, select the second dot. I'm still holding the shift key. Now I'm going to select this one that those dots are on, and watch what happens to the slice feature when I select the 3rd layer. It goes away, right? Because now we have 3 layers selected. So this is what's great about using this side panel or by using your shift key. I'm going to let go of everything. Okay, so what I can do is say I have these perfectly lined up, which they're not really, but we'll just say that they are. And what I can do is from either this layer here or from here and here, I'm going to do it for here just because it'll be easier on me. I'm going to select the blue dot. I'm going to hold my shift key and then select the black layer. Now I can slice. Now I already know that this dot is here. If it made you feel more comfortable, you could bring this to the back. But since I know it's there and you know it's there, let's just go ahead and select the dot here. Actually, no, because that was the slice result. So let's actually, it would be easier for you to see us to go ahead and move this to back. There's our dot. So I'm going to select the dot, hold my shift key, select the black layer, and then slice. Okay, now we can move this out and you can see we've got our other layers that we sliced out. Okay, so that is another super great example of how quickly you could make a banner. I guess if you wanted a short little stubby banner, that would be perfect. So there is 3 examples, great examples of what you would be using this slicing tool. And there's more, but that's just a good start. So let me just go ahead. We don't need to keep any of this here. Get rid of all of this here. Let's go over welding. Welding is also another one of my favorites, and we can actually use this as a great example. Let's just say that we wanted to make like a heart border. So I think, are these? Yes, they are grouped together. I can see that in the layer. So let's just go ahead and, before I weld it, I want to grab another layer of heart. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer. I'm going to put it together. I'm going to highlight all of them. And I'm going to align top. Okay. Now they're all perfectly, because these were horizontally distributed earlier, so these are, and then now they're all aligned top. Now I want to make like a little heart border. So if I click weld right now, right, it's already, all of them are selected, and I hit weld, watch what happens to the hearts. It's going to unite them together, basically welded each heart together, so there's only an outside line. Isn't that cool? So you could make a border. If you wanted to make it so it folds like an accordion, you could actually put score lines down each heart, or maybe every 3rd heart. You could turn this sideways and make it longer, right? Especially if you had a longer mat. You could do up to 23.5 inches long if you like. So there's a cute example of a heart border. And imagine you could do that with almost anything. So let me go ahead and get this out of the way. I don't need it. In fact, I don't think I need this either. Well, You could also, no, you know what? Let me just go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so another example of a weld could be, this is a super simple one. Let's just say you do a square here. Let's say you want to make a gift tag. I'm going to unlock it, make it more of a rectangle. And let's say instead of putting a hole right here for a gift tag, you'd like the hole to be up here, but kind of attached to the gift tag. So I would select a circle, make it approximate the size that I want, right? I'm going to duplicate that circle because I actually want to slice a hole in that little circle to make the hole. I'm going to use the align tool and center and slice. Now I've got a little cute little ring, and get rid of this. I don't need it. I can put this part of the top of the gift tag. I can select it. I can align it. If I do center, okay, we want to center horizontally. That's going to put it perfectly in the center horizontally. Now I've got it selected, both pieces together. Now watch what happens when I hit weld. Now we've got one complete unit. So there's another example of weld. So you can imagine there's all kinds of things you can do with weld. You can put all kinds of shapes together. You could, let me try and think of an image. So let me get a dog. And I'll show you how you can take an image. So this cute little guy, I'm going to duplicate him. I'm going to flip him horizontally. I'm using the grid lines to just line him up right about on that line, like that. Now I'm going to use my left arrow key and just move him over so he's a little bit more attached right about there. That way he's attached here and here. I'm going to do one more time. That's probably better. Now I'm going to select both dogs and I'm going to weld. So now what we have here is a card. I could add my Scoreline. Let me change the dog to brown so you can see the Scoreline better. Here's the Scoreline. I'm going to make it smaller. And then now I'm going to attach. There we go. So there is a cute little card that you can give to someone. And it's all welded together, and you could do whatever you want for the inside or the outside, but gives you an idea of how you can weld images together and what you can use them for. Okay, so let's get rid of this little guy. Now, I'm going to say this is probably one of the most confusing things for people, or something that people forget to do, something that many ask questions about, and that is when you are using script writing. Let's just go with there we go. I'm going to go with Babette. Okay, so here is a perfect example. I'm going to show you what happens when you attach letters together like this. So I'm mainly referring to cursive writing, but it also depends on what you're doing with your project. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about these lining up perfectly. Let me change the color because I want you to really be able to see this. Okay, if I was to, let me make it bigger so you can really see. Okay. See how if you follow this H, there's no lines that go across, right? You keep going and you follow the path, but you come up to the A and there's a line right here. And you keep going, you follow the A, and then you run into another line right here. So if we were to just attach all these letters together, right? Because before I mentioned, if you want this to go to your Make It Matte and look just like it did, then you have to attach it. But if you look real close on here, those lines are still there. That's not going to be good. Let me show you the difference, what Weld can do. We don't want these lines, right? We don't want it to cut on those lines plus these lines. So in this case, what we would do rather than attach, and it's okay if you already have it attached, like say you want to have it attached while you're moving it around or whatever, but when it comes time to send it to your mat, you want to make sure that you weld it. Now watch what happens to these letters. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Watch where this H and A is and the P when I hit weld. Now everything is one smooth line. It just continues and carries on. You don't have the lines going across those letters. So this is what, especially if you're doing vinyl or if you want to cut this out, this way everything, each word is going to be attached. And it carries through to your second mat. It's identical to what it was on the first mat. So Weld is very, very important for using with your fonts. Just wanted to show you that. So make sure that if you do have them attached, that before you send them to make it, make sure you weld your letters. Very, very important. Okay, so I think that covers Weld pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on to attach. So let's see, attach, what can I do? Let's probably, let me do a shape. We'll do like a card. So I'm going to unlock it, make it wider. I'm going to change it to white. And let's go ahead and let's write a font, right? Because if you write a font, you're definitely going to want to attach it to your card. So let's get some text in here. Let's change it to, there we go. Okay. I think this has, oh, I was thinking that it had, we can still draw. Okay, so this is an example. Some people call these bubble letters. If you take a regular font that's not typically meant to be a writing font, then if you do this, the pen, and this might be the look that you're after, but a lot of people do get confused with this, so I wanted to mention it. So this is not really the font that we would be after. So it's really good. If you want a writing font, it really is best to just choose one that's going to be a writing one. I put writing in the wrong place. Filter. So choose writing. Okay, it should still be filtered for that. Let me just double check. Yep, it is. Okay, so these are good examples of writing fonts. There's a bunch in here, but for just the quickness of the video, let me just pick one really quick. Let's just do this one. Okay, so here's Smile. We want to write this on the card. I'm not going to add the score line because you know how to do that. We've done that several times. But let's say you open up the card and you want it to have smile. Once you have your text written, then you want to go up to here. Okay, it automatically put it on draw. Okay, if I was with an Explorer, let me just change my machine, or my, yeah, it's still going to be on draw, right? Because you only have the choice of cut, draw, and score. So we're good there. So we have our letters. Let's say this is exactly where we want it to write. But what we do need to do is pick our pen color. So here, oops, it went back to cut and put it on draw. Okay, so when you see this outlined square for the color, that's where you click to choose your pen. Now, Cricut's machine software really isn't going to know what pen you've put in there. So really, you don't have to do this. This is more, I mean, you have to pick at least a color. It'll default to black. But let's just say that because you maybe have a lot of different colors in your project and you want to keep everything straight. Let's say you have a gel pen that you want to use and you want to use blue. So that is exactly how, oops, it was on my cut line. That's what happens. See, I make mistakes too. Select my font. It's already on draw. Now pick my color. I'm going to go to gel and pick blue. I'll pick my card because I actually do want my card to cut, not draw. That's what I did. And change it to white. There we go. So you have your writing. We've picked our color, but it's very important to select the two. Either select them both here by using your mouse and your shift key, or you can simply select them both right here and then attach. So that way, when you send it to the maker, or I mean to the map, it's going to draw and then it's going to cut. If I had a score line, then it would also score as well. So make sure you attach your letters, your words for your drawing with the pen. Make sure you attach. Okay, we're going to cancel that. I'm going to close this out. And so basically attach, remember when I mentioned earlier, attach is for anything that you want to make sure it stays, the position and everything remains the same so that when you click make it, it ends up the same on this mat as it does on your cutting mats. So definitely, you know, with the writing of the fonts, if it helps, attach is a great reference is that it can be used for holding your cuts in the same position from one mat to your cutting mat. So, and then it's also just used to attach a score line or a writing font to a card. So I hope that helps clear up any confusion over attach. All right, let's move on to flatten. Flatten is a fun one, and it's probably one of the easiest ones. As an example, let's go ahead and I'm going to unlock this. Actually, I don't want it that big. Okay, let's say we're going to make a gift tag. Okay, so, and we're going to add, we've got writing fonts, so that's good. We're going to add 2. Make it smaller. And we're going to add from. Smaller. So I'm not worrying about being perfect on my sizes. I'm just giving you an example. And say we want, rather than use our pens, what we can do is, and then pretend there's like a little hole in there. Or let me just, I probably just have to put one there. align it, center horizontally, and we got too many layers there, right? If I do this, too many layers, it won't let me slice that hole. So what do? We go and select our layers over here using the shift key and the mouse. So I want the circle selected and I want the tag. There's 2 layers only selected, and now I'm still holding my shift key, and now I hit slice. Now we can take this out and this out. We've got our hole. We'll send the tag to the back. There we go. Okay, so there is, oh, you know, when I selected that, it moved that. That's funny. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we've got our tag, and we decided we don't want to use our pins. We decide that we just want to print this out. Let me get rid of these. So in order to do that, the cool thing is all we have to do is select all layers and simply click on Flatten. Now what Flatten does, let me show you by showing Make It. You notice up here it changed it to a cut and print. So let me go back. I probably should have showed you. So we have 3 layers. We have our from layer, and our tag. All I do is select everything. So if I wanted to, since this is the only thing on my mat, I could select all and then flatten. Now change it to a cut and print. If I send it to the mat, it gives a registration mark for showing you that this is going to be a print. So it's going to send it to your printer first. So you would take your paper, whatever cardstock or paper you were using to print on, you send it through your printer. Once you've printed it, you take that piece of paper and you put it on your Cricut mat, and it will cut out this tab and the little hole in it. Okay, so another thing to remember for printing is that the printable area for Cricut to print on is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and do a template so I can show you visually. It just makes more sense. So the printable area is 6.75 for the width, and then for the height is 9.25. And then mock it up. So what I do, if I'm trying to decide how many things are going to fit, how many tags I can get to fit for my printer, say I want to make as many as it will fit on this little guy. So it's kind of a big tag, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to duplicate it and see if I can fit 4 across. Looks like I can. Okay, I can. Okay, so I'm going to hold my shift key. I'm going to select all of these tags, and I'm going to align, distribute horizontally. And I've never seen that happen before. That was weird. Okay, just to make sure there's not something weird going on. Align, distribute horizontally. Okay, that one worked. And then align top. Okay, I've got my perfect grouping there. Let me bring this back. Okay, I'm going to hold my shift and select all of these together and then group them. And now I'm going to duplicate. Oh, it selected everything. There we go. Okay, I didn't mean to group it with the black. Okay, so select here and then hold down the shift and then select, select, select. So only these are selected, and then group. There we go. Okay, so then duplicate your group. And it doesn't look like we can fit 2. So had I made these smaller, maybe I want these to be bigger. So basically what this is, just nothing, the black is nothing but just a reference so you don't go outside these lines. They don't need, it doesn't matter if you send them like this. You don't have to attach them or anything, because all they know to do is to go to the next mat. Now, you don't need the black layer at this point. Once you figure out how many things will fit on here, then you can go down to the black layer and just turn it off. Or you can, well, it would be a good idea to group these just so you don't accidentally move something. So there's that. So you could turn the gray, or the black layer off, and then select all, and then group. That way, if you move them, you're not going to get outside of your box. So now if you click Make It, it's going to put them how they're best going to fit on that paper. That's why I wanted to show you it doesn't really matter how you have them situated. It will only cram what it can onto the paper, which is nice. And it's only going to print with letter size paper. All right, so let's click Cancel. So there is a way, it shows you how to flatten, to turn it into a print and cut, and then also how many you can get, how to make a template and how many you can get on that template. Turn the template off, group them, and send them to your printer. Okay, let me go ahead and we're going to move on to contour, which is actually my favorite thing to do. And let me bring something in to show you what contour is. Create. Actually, this will work perfect. Okay, so what contour is, first of all, let me show you whenever you find something that you want to contour out, and let me just say what I want to do is I want to separate these three words. I want them each separate because I want to make each one a different color. Or another way to use contour is maybe I only want the word dream. I don't have this font in my text list, but I like this font and I like this word. So that's all I want. That's another example of why you would want this. So what I'm going to do, I've decided that I want this in red, dream in red, and in white, and create in blue. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is make it small, and I'm going to drag it down to the bottom middle of my mat. And the reason I do this is because, well, first of all, whenever I want to contour something, I duplicate it at least once. That way, if I make a mistake, or in this case, I want several, I want dream to be one and create to be one, so I need to have two of them ready. So here's one, here's two. We can see in the layers panel that one of the layers is the word and dream and create is one actual letter. So when I go to ungroup them, there we go. When I go to ungroup it, this is one group and this is one group, just like it showed over here. So same thing with this. If I ungroup them, oh, that was the one I ungrouped a little bit ago. Okay, so we only need one and for my example, and we need one dream and one create. So I know that I want that to be white, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it to white. I'm gonna put that over here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this down. This one I'm just gonna use in a minute, so it doesn't matter. But this one I'm gonna make small and bring right down to the middle, and I'm gonna click on contour. Now the reason why I brought this down here is because this doesn't move. I can try to drag it, it just doesn't move. So that's why we bring it here, so we can watch what we're doing at the same time that we're doing. So first thing I'm going to do, everything you see here is here. You have an option to make this bigger or smaller if you need to see it better. I only go to here if I can't find it here. Like for some reason I can't find this little dot right here, then, or on here, then I'll look for it over here. But for me, it's easier to do it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on I'm going to hide all my contours and see what's left. And it left me with just this. And most of the time there's no rhyme or reason to this. So I hide them all and I see what's left. So I'm going to go, okay, I'll use the word create first. I'll keep the word create. So I'll click on, you can see what's dark. I'm going to click on the C and see it come down there. Now I need to get rid of the middle of the C. So I click there, the middle, or the little dot in the R, the dot in the E, the dot in the A, and the dot in the E. And that's it. I've got my word create. I close it, and now I've got a complete separate word. So this was the one that I wanted to make blue. Now we'll work on this one. Make it just a little bit smaller. So this time I'm going to contour out create, and I'm going to keep dream. So I click on contour, I hide all again, and I'm just going to bring dream out. I'm going to click the opposite little holes in there and get rid of dream or create. So I think it got that. It looks like it did. So I'm going to close it. I'm going to make it bigger just to make sure I got the inside of that R. And yes, I did. It's pretty tiny, but I did. There we go. So we've got dream and create. And so we've got, we took one image, we contoured, we ungrouped it, then we contoured, and we've got a complete different image than what we saw, or not completely different, but very different from what we saw in Cricut Design Space. So that is the beauty of contour. It's a little bit time consuming, but really not that much. Once you get used to it, you just start click, 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 and you're done before you know it. So I tell you, it makes you look at images completely different, because now instead of going, do I want this? And then I go, no, and then move on, right? You could look at it and go, well, I like it, but I want to change the color. But because it's already made for me like this, I can't change the color. But you can, as long as you go and contour out what you do want, or contour out what you don't want. And so, you know, let's say this heart is different than the regular heart that we get from the shape from Cricut Design Space. Say all you wanted was this heart. You could literally contour everything out but that heart. So there, it's so exciting to me. I love it. You know, maybe you just wanted these stars. You could contour all this out, or you could even slice these things out and keep the stars. It would take you a little bit more time, but it opens up so many opportunities when you use contour. I think contour and slice are probably my favorite. I don't know. I like them all. I get really excited. So there is contour. There's pretty much everything. I hope that you enjoyed this whole tutorial. It's a lot of fun for me to make it for y'all. I hope that you find it super, super helpful. I'm going to try and put, forget what it's called, like a timestamp. So hopefully if I can figure it out, so that would be like one for slice, a timestamp for weld, a timestamp for attach and flatten and contour. Just so that you can come back and refer to it as needed, right? Everybody starts in Cricut Design Space not knowing a darn thing. So do not feel bad. You've seen me make several mistakes today, and I kept them in here on purpose because I still make mistakes, and I've been doing this for years. So I really, really hope that you get a lot of help out of this. If there's something that you want me to cover either more in depth, or if you want me to show you how to do something else within Cricut Design Space, please leave it in the comment section, and I will absolutely reach out to you and help you. Or if it's something that more than several people are asking for, I will create a whole video for it. So until next time, take care, have a great day, and create with love. Bye.